Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Friday, May 31st, 2019. We start tonight on the grandsolarminimum.com, where Mari has taken the time to lay out all the articles that we're going to talk about tonight. And I'm going to try to change things up a little bit with the way we do the presentation to maybe help connect these articles a little bit. So bear with me tonight, folks, but we have a lot of information, like always, to talk about. Let's go ahead and start off at our website and read off some space weather news first before we get into the good stuff here. Our solar wind speeds are sitting at 371.1 kilometers per second with a very low density of 1.9. And we will take a look over at SPACEWEATHER.com where we don't have any sunspots. This is now 12 days in a row without sunspots, and 86 days for the total year of 2019, and we're not halfway there yet. So more than half of the year so far has been spotless, even after a recent outbreak of sunspot activity just here recently. All right, let's take a look at a little bit more in-depth look at our space weather, folks. Taking a look at KP indices, 24-hour max has been around 2. Right now, we're currently at it's been at a 3. We're sitting at a 2 right now. Everything quiet, X-ray solar flux, solar proton flux, nothing major happening today. There's our blank sun. And let's go ahead and take a zoom in to the SDO image here. And let's move it on over. Some pretty impressive activities on the eastern limb of our sun. So we see these little spin-offs here, and right now we are looking at a blank sun, very blank, very quiet, very slight movement as far as coronal hole growth. So this is a very quiet and unusual day for us here at the Grand Solar Minimum, because normally we're at least locating at least one decent sized coronal hole, some sunspot activity. And right now we do see a lot of activity off of the eastern limb, but that's still yet to remain. Is it going to be another sunspot this time around again? We will keep our eyes on that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the sun, the imagery that gives us information on the reverse side of our sun. There's that active region there. And it looks like we got a couple of different regions that we have to kind of watch out for. So we will definitely be monitoring this very close. Taking a look at our TSI reading for May 19th, this is May 17th, 2019. We were looking at TSI readings at 1360.647. So again, TSI kind of holding steady in that range, not much change, not much of anything happening. So overall, today's overall lesson for our space weather section of our news, it's very, very quiet, folks. We've had a KP of 1 and 2 for most of the day. We have no sunspots to speak of. The solar wind speeds have dropped because we are no longer dealing with that solar wind uptick from the coronal hole that was Earth facing just a few days ago. So overall, this is exactly what we should expect during solar minimum, a day like this. And it doesn't happen. It hasn't even really happened that much, if you ask me, since we've been doing this for 3 years. I don't think I've ever done a report where I started off with low solar winds, low density, and then looking at the current streak of sunspotless days. All right, KP indices are low. TCI still low. We're not at record temperatures right now, but we're going into summer and we're still holding at the 4.46. That's still pretty cold. They are expecting a little bit of uptick in solar wind on June 2nd, but other than that, this is pretty common for solar minimum. This is where, if we didn't have any weather to talk about or climate news, this is where the topic would bore everyone right here. Just because this is normal. This is nothing to be alarmed about. This kind of action from our sun is normal during solar minimum. All right, so let's go back over to grandsolarminimum.com. Check out some articles. Mari helped out today big time for us. Thank you very much. Levee failing along Mississippi at Arkansas rivers. Guys, we've been talking about flooded rivers out here in Mississippi. We focused on the Delta, And when we started focusing on the Delta, we also started hearing a louder drumbeat for the Arkansas River. And here we are. Historic flooding continues across the Midwest, causing levees to breach along the Mississippi and Arkansas rivers. Authorities have issued mandatory evacuation orders for parts of the region. The Midwest is experiencing catastrophic flooding since mid-March, leading to historically delayed planting seasons. Mari, did we include any of those graphs? You posted one on our Facebook page today about the corn, where it was last year this month in percentages.
I know it's on our Twitter.
Is it included in tonight's broadcast?
No, but I can pull it up.
Okay, I could do that too then. I want to show that. Mari posted a very interesting graph. Showing where we were last year, May 26, 2000.
Pull it up real quick.
Yeah, since we don't even have it, I guess.
You can talk about it while
right.
I'm doing it.
I'll go ahead and put it on this right here for a minute. Okay, so the numbers were actually kind of surprising. And at the time when I received this chart from Mari, I was still at my place of employment and was standing around with some colleagues. And I started reading off the numbers for what Mari had shared with me. Now, is this percentages? Is that like 95%
of corn planted?
Okay. I just want to make sure. All right. So,
sorry.
Thank
Jake.
you. So now we go back here. Check this out, guys. This is just the corn. I'll show you the. There's another chart that you gave me too, though, that showed the percent of growth. But let's take a look at this. So the 5-year average in Iowa is 96% of the crop is in the ground. May last year, we were at where we were supposed to be, almost, only 1% off. Now we look at May of this year. Big difference, guys. 99% Illinois. This year, 35%. 5-year average, 95% by this time. Indiana, 94% usually. Their 5-year average is 85%. Right now, we are sitting at a 22%. The list goes on, guys. And the scary part is the 5-year averages are all in the 90s and 80s, one upper 70s in Ohio. So last year, Ohio was actually ahead of schedule. This year, they have 22% of corn planted right now. Their 5-year average is 78. 87% in South Dakota. 25% this year. So they were 3% below their 5-year average. And this year, they are 65% lower than their 5-year average. It gets worse. Let's take a look at the soybean numbers as well. It's pathetic. And I've heard nothing but farmers saying we have till June 8th before we switch over to soybean. Well, let's take a look at what soybean's going through right now. Last year, Iowa was actually ahead of schedule and they had 78% of their crop. This year, only 32% is in the ground. Illinois, 89. Only 14%. Guys, 14% of soybean is in the ground right now. Indiana, 11% this year, 85% last year. Minnesota, 75 last year, right below average, just a smidge below average. This year, 35%. Nebraska, 84% last year. They were 10% above their 5-year average. This year is only 56. Ohio, your soybean crops suck right now. Usually, or last year, we were 10% higher than average. 65%. Again, Ohio did really good last year in their corn and their soybean. This year, it's awful. 11% of the crop is in the ground. And here's the worst one here, folks. Now, mind you, Soybean is the crop that's supposed to be the go-to if you can't plant corn. Last year in 2018, South Dakota, I almost said San Diego, South Dakota came in with 56% last year at this time planted. This year, 6%. And I only wanted to bring this up because now we're talking about failing levees. More water being added to an area that we were just talking about. The Midwest. Flooding continues across the Midwest, causing levees to breach along the Mississippi and Arkansas. So the problem is all over a region, and it's funneling down and wreaking havoc on the way down. We have never had a levee breach in the lower upper bottom, says Dardanelle Mayor Jimmy Wett. What this means for Dardanelle is that we will be preparing for a possible flooding situation coming from the bayou side. We will need both sandbagging operations going today, and I ask you please not to panic. We have time to prepare for this. It will not be coming into our area for quite a while. Highway 7 bridge is open and traffic is flowing at a good pace. They're optimistic now, and I hope it continues. But these pictures right here, duck farm. This is our farm just over the border of Fort Smith, Arkansas and Oklahoma. The silos, shops, farmhands, house, all underwater, still rising. All equipment, animals, people were safely moved out. Total crop loss this year. Total. More than 500 homes in Arkansas have been flooded. The biggest concern is the unprecedented pressure the flooding has put on levees, as they have never held back this much water for this long, according to the Arkansas Department of Emergency Management said on May 29th. He says this is looking to be record-breaking all along the Arkansas River, and this is something we have never seen before. I mean, I am sick of hearing this. And then being told that we're not presenting the correct information. But yet this continues to happen, and we continue to show the correlation between the science of grand solar minimum, not just sunspots, but everything connected to it. Solar wind, the magnetic field of the sun, the magnetics of our planet, the jet stream, how it's affected by solar wind, sunspots, cosmic rays, how it affects our atmosphere. And of course, the colder the atmosphere, and I'll get into that here in a minute, we already know where I'm going with that. The colder the atmosphere, I mean, look what's happening right now. We just got through the longest tornado outbreak in history. Usually, tornado outbreaks last for a day or two. They're 1 to 2 days long. This one was around 14 or more days consecutive with tornadoes breaking out across the same region. All right, took a breath. Let's move along, folks. A lot to get over here. Mari, how do you pronounce this floodway that we are, I don't want to butcher this, the one that starts with the M, Morganza floodway. Morganza. Opening postponed until June. Where's the water going to go? Mari, am I looking at this correct? Is that the spillway?
Oh, man.
And this is where the water is going?
Like, I don't even have words for what a bad situation this is in the Midwest and how under-publicized it is and discussed about. The actual technical implications are it runs deep. And if you actually, I'm trying to get a hold of a hydrologist that's in the area. His concern is that the Mississippi is going to rear a different way and reroute itself down another river, which is going to be catastrophic and cut freshwater supply from like New Orleans area. Jeez. Or no, not New Orleans. It was, I don't know. But hopefully I'll have a full actual separate documentary story soon on that within the next week, because it's imperative this information gets out, and these details. There's so many people that are aware of it, but it seems like society en masse, it's falling on deaf ears. It's a huge crisis right now.
We need more time in the day to gather this.
There's not enough time in the day. I mean, I could spend. I looked at crop loss articles all day today, and it's just like, it's not just the Midwest. You have drought situations that are impacting the farming. You have just like the cherry farm.
Yep.
There's so many different issues all over. It's so widespread worldwide. It's shocking.
Today was a full day for me, my day job. And honestly, the day goes by so quick, and usually I have time to skim through things. And like I said, I appreciate Mari's huge help today. She's the mastermind behind our content tonight. And, the last time she helped me out with this, if she don't stop, she's going to get the job permanently, because she's finding some very important information that I don't think I was looking in certain spots. So again, your help is so much appreciated. But getting back to what I was saying, we don't have enough time in the day. I mean, honestly, folks, I wish I could sit here all day and read and do this. I'd probably have to do 2 or 3 broadcasts a day live. At the rate of all the information that's coming in right now. And that's simply why I made that statement. I wish we had more time in the day, because it
doesn't pay.
We're underselling something.
Yeah, like my videos, I'm free to tell people my videos make about $2, and I'll spend about $4 or 4 hours editing. So that gives you a perspective of how much time we spend. We have to have day jobs. We can't spend the time to spread it. It's a shame.
The Mississippi is predicted to reach 60 feet, guys. 60 feet at the structure on June 9th instead of previously forecasted June 5th. Adding, they only intend to operate the structure when it is needed to put the additional water. Now, look at this. June 9th, June 6th. I mean, it's like all of these dams and levees are starting to they're equalizing. And first we just thought this was some problem that we were going to have in the Delta. The floodway has been opened up only 2 times. It was completed in 1954. It was opened in 2011 and 1973. Intended to operate during emergency flooding, the purpose of the Morganza floodway is to divert excess water from the Mississippi River. Now, I can tell you this. This is the second spillway that I've talked about that has only been opened up once or twice in its history of being in existence. I'll leave the link, of course, on our website. You guys can read the full details. But again, another situation where we're looking at levees failing, possibly very, very soon. More than 8 dead, hundreds displaced. Flash flooding hit capital Kampala in Uganda. Heavy rains and flash floods are affecting parts of Uganda, including the capital Kampala, over the past couple of days. According to information provided by Uganda Red Cross, a number of areas were flooded, roads cut off, and a lot of property destroyed. Over 8 people are believed to have lost their lives in the areas of, Kakajo, Lubawa, and that one might get me a copyright strike, so I'll just leave that one to you guys to decide what it says. Over 500 households were affected and many people were displaced. The worst affected villages, again, I'll leave this all for you guys to decipher for yourself. I don't want to disrespect these areas. Flash floods have been devastating effect on the lives of people, livestock, business, household. Okay, so another article that is a repeat of what was being said in Nebraska, in Iowa, in Arkansas, in Mississippi. Here we are in Uganda. This is all over the planet. I had an interesting comment today in our last video, and there's a bunch of questions. I answered them. I said, listen, it's hard to answer your question in the comment section. And this person wrote a very long questions. There was like 5 or 6. And I simply instructed them to just simply watch the GSM 101 series. Watch the John Casey interview. Watch the Valentina Zarkova interview. Watch the David Dilley, the Sasha Dobler. The list goes on. How to grow with Radical Gardener. Stuff like that. I mean, this channel provides, I believe, a lot of top-notch information from a lot of people who care. And the only reason why they're doing this is because they care. They want to help get this message is being suppressed right now. But honestly, the best way for someone who comes to me and asks me how, ask me the hows and the whats and the who's, guys, we really put a lot of work into putting this channel together. Please watch the series that we have for you on the playlist. It wouldn't be fair to answer you in the comment section with a short answer when there's so much to it. GSM, what does that mean globally? What does that mean in regions? What does that mean temperature? I mean, there's just so many factors. It's not an open, closed book. There's no simple answer to this. There's many factors that go involved, and it's not just solar activity alone that's doing this, but it's not humans either. That I can promise you. But again, another story, another area of this planet where we're looking at deadly floods. And unfortunately, we stay across the pond. Flash floods destroy 220 homes, leave 24 people dead in Afghanistan. A new wave of heavy rain and flash flood hit parts of Afghanistan over the past couple of days. It says there were over 500 people rescued from the Bamyan province. At least 24 people have been killed. 11 were injured, 550 were affected. 220 houses have been destroyed, and 116 partially destroyed. See if I can play this for a minute without getting a copyright strike. Oh, goodness. Beginning of March, heavy rainfall floods hit central, southern, and western regions of the country, killing at least 70 people by March 13th. 70 people lost their lives, folks. More than 16,000 houses were swept away and damaged about 8,670. With approximately 250,000 people were affected. Kandahar received 3.8 inches of rain in just 30 hours. This area, that is not common. That was a month's worth of rain in less than a day and a half. Less than a day and a half. January's reddest month of the year was 2.44. February was 1.69 inches. March and December were around an inch. You get the picture. Again, it's not just here. It's all over the world. And a lot of these areas, their infrastructure can't handle this, guys. Heavy rains and landslides affect 200,000 people. Leave 7 dead, 2 missing in southern China. 7 cities across 21 countries of China's, Gangxi Zhang Autonomous Region experienced heavy rainfall since Saturday, May 25th, 2019, causing flooding and landslides. The resulting floods and landslides left at least 7 people dead, 2 are missing, 4 have been injured. 9,000 people have been evacuated, and it's affected over 200,000 people. 185 homes have collapsed, and more than almost 23,000 acres of crops have been damaged. About $19.3 million to be exact, and how much crop damage we have here. Several coastal cities there experienced more than 12 hours of heavy rainfall. Port city of Zohawi recorded a maximum overnight rainfall amount of 19 inches. Floodwaters reached 4.9 feet in some areas. Here's a look at our rain coming through the area on Tropical Tidbits. Here's the total accumulation over the next several days into June. That map is not as yellow in the United States. But wow, look at this thing light up as it goes into June 14th. So we think we have it bad here. Remember that, folks. Remember this when it gets to that bright yellow part. Let's pause that. Just remember, you think it's bad here in the U.S.? Wait till I show you the U.S. compared to this. Now, this is going all the way out to the 14th of June. So I always tell people I don't like it going out that far. But let's do a little comparison. Here's June 13th. Here's us on June 16th. So you think you got it bad here. Now, that's what they're dealing with. So if we're experiencing the crop loss here in the United States, the numbers I just went over with you guys, I can't imagine what we'll be looking at in this region here. The crop loss, the destruction, the flooding, everything. Look at this. Several inches of rain, folks. Several. I mean, we're talking over 2 feet. In what, 16 days? 5 people killed after heavy rains hit the capital, Conakry and Guinea. Just another headline, guys. At least 5 people were killed after heavy rains once again hit the capital of Guinea. May 17th, 18th, 2019. Locals said the flooding was caused by huge amounts of trash blocking drainage channels in some areas in Danbadi, where 5 people died. The water was up to 6.5 feet high. I think I remember seeing some video of this where the floodwaters hit the town, the village. This is not a town. This is a village here. And all this trash was just flowing. It didn't even look real. It just looked like it was fake. I didn't think it was a real flood footage. But all this garbage was flowing in the flash floods. And now look, the water's receded. So this place, we're dealing with 2 kinds of catastrophes here. We've lost life. We've lost property. And now the cleanup is just freaking huge right now. So, this is intense. I hope everybody's picking up what I'm laying down tonight. There hasn't been a slow day for Grand Solar Minimum News in 2019. That I can promise you guys. Every broadcast we've brought you this year, there's nothing slow about it. Even on the fewest amount of articles, there's still nothing slow about it. Shift gears here, guys. New high-level eruption at Agung volcano in Indonesia. A new high-level eruption took place at Agung Valley, Indonesia, around 3:42 UTC on May 31st. This ash plume raised up to 30,000 feet above sea level, moving east-southeast. The aviation code color was raised to red. The danger area is within a radius of 2.5 miles from the summit. Outside is safe. And just for all of you out there who wonder what is the exact height of a volcano ash plume that really affects our temperatures. And I mean, 30,000 feet is pretty significant. It's not going to change, crops and all that overnight or nothing like that. You got to figure if you had enough of these volcanoes at that height blowing all the time, I mean, it would affect. But to really see the ones that really make effect, you got to be around the 55,000 feet area above sea level. So again, this was a strong eruption. This was by any means nothing major at this point, but it was a strong signal and a very strong eruption, especially since we haven't really talked a lot about volcanoes since last year. Kilauea, there were so many things. Cinnabung, tons of volcanoes blowing everywhere last year. Fuego. But this year, 2019, we kind of have seen a little bit of calm, and now I'm beginning to wonder here recently, we've probably had 2 or 3 decent volcanic eruptions around the world, so it's time to start watching these volcanoes once again as we head into hurricane season as well. So lots to keep our eyes on, folks. Massive tornado rips through Kansas City. Actually, I want to cover this first, and then we'll go to that. Record-breaking temperatures hit Hokkaido. 5 killed, 600 hospitalized in Japan. At least 5 people have been killed. Nearly 600 have been hospitalized after a severe heat wave. Temperatures reached 103 degrees Fahrenheit on May 26th. Goodness. This is record temperature for any time in Hokkaido, one of the coldest regions in Japan, with an average daily high temperature of 51.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Temperatures in the month of May have never reached 95 degrees Fahrenheit in this town. The previous all-time region was 100 degrees, and that was set on June 3rd, 2014. Yes, during Solar Max. So a lot of you are probably sitting there saying, why is this happening? Why is there a heat wave? How is that possible? Again, what the grand solar minimum is nothing to do with glaciation or ice age. What the grand solar minimum is a period of time of low solar activity. And during that time of low solar activity, it leads into decades of low solar activity. And over time, we begin to cool globally, slowly but surely. But also, during grand solar minimums, there are heat waves. There are parts of the planet that still get really hot. There are still areas that get severe drought. There are areas that it's possible, and areas that's usually cold, are going to get hot. I mean, look what's happening here in the United States. Areas that are usually hot are cold. 79 degrees is cold in Arizona this time of year. Okay? That's chilly. So I thought tonight was important that this story got reported, because heat kills people as well. Not as many as the cold. But it's important to report this, because what the grand solar minimum is about regional conditions, because everything moves throughout the globe. There's no one-size-fits-all ingredient for global cooling. It's a decadal thing. It happens over time. It takes time for things to get at the bottom. We're not just going to plunge into it right away without warning. That's not how it works. But I tell you what, showing you guys those crop numbers, I mean, you could have fooled me as far as plunging into a solar minimum, and everybody's like, well, what's that? What's crops got to do with solar minimum? Well, during the grand solar minimums, we're talking about longer and colder winters and shorter grow seasons. So what's happening right now, folks, in 2009? The proof is right here. This is from AccuWeather. So if you don't trust me or what this channel stands for, these numbers are coming from a mainstream weather channel that believes in man-made global warming. These numbers don't lie. Massive tornado rips through Kansas City, Kansas. 11 people were injured. Numerous homes were damaged. This happened on the 20th. This is right after the Dayton tornado. Just another add to the pile of tornado damage during this outbreak. Of course, none of these videos are for broadcast, so I can't show you what they have, but you can pretty much see the damage. The same damage that we've seen all over the United States and the Midwest. Again, we have the link and everything put in on our website, thegrandsolarminimum.com, for those of you who want to read the more in-depth part of this. Guys, don't go anywhere. We shall return.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.
All right, we are back, and we will start our segment, Climate News. There's a lot of world news to talk about tonight. A lot of similar situations across the globe, not just one region of the world. And what's ironic about that is that I talked to you guys about how GSM is regional, and right now we're seeing a lot of precipitation that it seems like much of the globe is getting. So this is a very intense period, right now, as far as climate goes for our weather. And I'll get more into that. Now, which leads me into that. Recent tornadoes are due to unusually cold weather. Yes, absolutely. Dr. Roy Spencer has showed us the temperature anomaly maps here. We are seeing the darker green, which stands for negative 13 degrees below average. Now, I am not claiming to be some famous weatherman, but we've seen this severe weather outbreak forming in this pattern right here. Okay? So there's much colder air in the northern plains and funnels down to the central plains. And then we have this above average heat that builds in this area where nothing really changed. But what we need when it comes to tornadic activity is a balance of cold air and warm air colliding. So you're asking yourself, why are we seeing so many tornadoes this year? Why didn't we see it last year? Because last year's atmosphere was not as cold as it is this year. This year's atmosphere is so cold compared to last year's. We didn't have any tornado outbreaks. And so that leads you to the next question. Well, if we're cooling, how come we didn't see anything like this last year in 2017? Well, remember, guys, 2016 was the max peak of where we are today with our global anomaly here, this chart, this bad boy here. So we take a look at 2016, and we're right here. So the atmosphere is pretty warm right now. 0.88 above baseline was the peak in 2016. All right. And then we started falling right here. 2017, we were still about 0.65 degrees above baseline. That's still warm. I mean, compared to where we were, we're still warm. Okay, this cold doesn't just happen overnight. It takes time. And as the time goes by, here we are today at 0.44 degrees above Celsius. So even though you don't think 0.44 degrees Celsius is that much colder, when you talk about it on a global scale, it really is. Right now, we're looking at numbers slightly above 1987, 1988. Right now, what we're talking about. This is where we are right now, between 88 and 89, temperature-wise. I remember the winters back then. They were pretty freaking cold. And it's going to continue to plunge. So is this where we're going to be at by this time in 2020? Maybe. I mean, according to this, follow this chart. Talking about 87 into 88, and then by the time we got to late 89, early 89, we bottomed out at -4. Oh, when was that? Oh, that was during a solar minimum. Yeah, the bottom part of it. So each year we see cooling in the atmosphere, okay? And it brings us to this paper that Dr. Roy Spencer talked about here with the tornadoes. Why are we seeing so many? This map says it all right here. I mean, check this out. That's official. That's not Dr. Roy Spencer. That's Tropical Tidbits reporting here. Or wait, this actually is a different source. I apologize for that. But the point is, the Weather Bell. And Joe Bastardi actually, I saw this on his Twitter account today. This right here. The proof is right in front of your face, folks. The proof is right in front of your face. Look at this. Lowest in history as far as tornadoes, 2018. 2018, lowest in history. we're gonna really do some damage to that number this year. The average from 86 to 2018 was 33.8%, or 33.8, yeah, tornadoes a year. The average in 54 to 85 was 59. So if you go back to the 50s and go to the 80s, and then you take from 86 to now, you will see that we are having fewer tornadoes up until that point. And then we talk about 2019 being cold again in the atmosphere. During the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and 80s, especially during the 70s, the 77 winter, the 56 winter, I believe. 52, I'm sorry. We're talking about colder atmospheres. Interesting to look at 1974, guys. F3 tornadoes that year climbed up to almost 140. That's crazy. And that was the year that we had the super tornado outbreak. 74, I believe, was also, if I'm not mistaken, well, at the beginning of a minimum. So it's just funny to me that it's not just this channel. It's people like Dr. Roy Spencer. That's right, Dr. Roy Spencer, PhD. Joe Bastardi, Weather Bell. These guys are work with the real data, telling the truth at their own risk. Because we all know how popular you are when you start telling everybody about cooling. And that's being sarcastic, by the way. So, Fox News, Roy Spencer, why so many tornadoes? It's not AOC, Bernie Sanders, or what you may think. Progressive politicians like Al Gore and Senator Bernie Sanders and AOC don't hesitate to blame any kind of severe weather, even if it's decreasing over time, on global warming. With the devastating Dayton, Ohio tornadoes fresh in our minds, it's a useful examine exactly why modest global warming has produced fewer, not more, of such events. The simple answer is that tornado formation requires unusually cool air. Very few thunderstorms produce tornadoes in the hot and humid tropics that are virtually unheard of. Okay? The reason why is that unlike hurricanes, tornadoes require strong wind shear, which means wind speed increasing and changing direction with height in the lower atmosphere. These conditions exist only when a cool air mass collides with warm air mass. And then perfect conditions for this have existed this year as winter has refused to lose its grip on the western United States. So far, the month of May of 2019, the average temperature across the United States is 2 degrees below normal Fahrenheit, by the way. So far this month of May, the average temperature across the U.S. is down 2 degrees Fahrenheit. Every year, springtime thunderstorms in central and southeast U.S. have plenty of warm, moist air to draw from the Gulf of Mexico, but they generally don't have as persistent cold air mass producing strong wind shear at the boundary between a warm and cold air mass. In recent decades, slow warming in the U.S. has been accompanied by a few of these cold springtime air masses over the west, with the result, based upon the National Weather Service statistics and long-term trend of EF3 tornadoes to EF5 tornadoes, has been decidedly downward, with 2018 experiencing the lowest inactivity in history. But this year's snows have extended late May from northern Michigan through Colorado, the Sierra of California. As a result of this persistent cold air mass, as of May 27th, we are well above normal for total U.S. tornadoes. This is what weather does. It varies from year to year. The alarm claims of AOC, Gore, and Sanders are not just speculative. They are opposed by our observations and by meteorological theory. Yeah, Fox News still got it wrong. Yeah, this happens from year to year. But what we're getting ready to go into is not a year-to-year thing here. This is going to be persistent. 2020 is going to be beyond what we're seeing right now. And if you think this spring is bad, I'm telling you, unless the atmosphere really cools down a lot and it brings down global temperatures too, next spring is more than likely going to be just as active on the tornado side of this. If this is a sign of what happens during the colder atmospheres when it collides with the warm air, which obviously we just read. So very concerning here. We got to really be ready, guys. If you're not in a plan where you're able to, and not everybody can afford to relocate. So at this point, it's best we start learning how to prep and be ready and be aware and know what's coming instead of being caught with the pants down around our ankles. That's what I'm more worried about for a lot of people. I mentioned it on a show earlier that a family member of mine, he doesn't care about this stuff because it doesn't happen to him. It doesn't affect his daily life. And then this tornado hits just a mile away from his house. And even after that, he still had the gall to tell me that it didn't affect him. It didn't bother him one bit. Meanwhile, the entire city of Dayton is struggling to perform normal daily tasks in most neighborhoods. Running water, power, cleanup, reconstruction. It's happening right in his own backyard, and he still said it doesn't affect him yet. Well, it's going to affect you when people lose their jobs because their job is destroyed from the storm. So they don't have money to go out and eat, or they don't have money to go out and spend at entertainment places. They don't have money to go out and spend that they would normally go spend at the mall on the weekends. It might take a little while for these folks to recover. So if you don't see it now, you don't feel it now, you will here soon. The local economy is affected by things like this. And it's not living in fear or walking on eggshells. It's simply being aware. That's what we're here for. To educate you guys. To hopefully help you connect the dots. 2 weeks, Mother Nature finally gives the nation a reprieve on Thursday by ending an unprecedented tornado streak of 13 days. On each of those days, we looked at least 8 tornado reports a day. The average tornado for May, I believe, daily, I think is somewhere around 3 daily. That's the average. The streak reached 11 days on Monday night when a flurry of tornadoes ripped through Indiana, Ohio, including the EF4 twister that struck Dayton, Ohio. Did you see that, Mari? Did you hear what I just said? What did I say the night that happened? EF4. Now they are calling it an official EF4 tornado that struck Dayton, Ohio. When I saw the damage of this, for them to even say it was an E2 or EF3 was insulting. The damage that I saw was similar to what the EF5 had put in Xenia in 1974. I haven't seen this article yet, guys, so I apologize for kind of pointing that out. But I told Mari the night we looked at the footage, and I said, that's an EF4. And they are now officially calling it an EF4. The next night, a destructive tornado, also an EF4, ripped through Linwood, Kansas. These are just a few of the massive tornadoes that have touched down recently in the country and extended the streak almost 2 weeks. Tuesday was day 12, eclipsing an old record of 11, which ended on June 7th of 1980. Coming out of a minimum. And remember, we had some cold temperatures in the 76, 77, 78, 79 winters. So that's not surprising either. You see what I'm saying, guys? You put the cold air in the atmosphere, the colder air, and we can take you back to each big record like this. And correlate it with solar activity. Low solar activity equals cool temperatures. That's all I'm saying, guys. All right, so we get some good stuff here. Where are we at? There was one other. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to some juicy drama. All right, juicy drama with AOC. That's what we should call the segment. AOC films first Washington, D.C. tornado warning, the climate crisis. Oh, really? Let's see. Oh, let's see. Tap to play. These are just picture slides. Oh, wait. The sound.
rule of politics is that the person who raises the most money and spends the most money wins.
Shitty sound quality. Hey, that's great. That's great, AOC. I'm glad something so important gets posted on your Instagram that has the worst quality audio ever, so it's hard to understand. Good job. Good job. Let's just read the article. Let's say here, so she's starting to raise alarms because the tornadoes. Remember, I just explained to everybody and showed you guys the proof why we have the tornadoes. DrRoySpencer.com, AccuWeather talks about it. And again, AccuWeather is known for their man-made global warming comment, so they're showing us the proof that it's a cooler atmosphere colliding with warmer air that creates these tornadoes. But what does AOC have to say about it? Guys, they just issued a tornado watch in D.C., she said before turning to her camera and staff. They were standing together in her office. In a series of photos showing AOC urged her followers to focus on the fight against climate change. The climate crisis is real, y'all, she wrote in a text across her story. Y'all, pointing to her proposed Green New Deal in the middle of the storm. Guess we're at casual tornadoes in growing regions of the country. Climate change is believed to be the course...
I found this on the web for what is a series of Florida...
Thank you, Siri. Appreciate the help. Climate change is believed to be the changing course and strength of tornadoes, moving deadlier ones to the regions that previously had faced lesser ones. No. Remember, climate change is global warming. And you need cold air, lots of it, to produce the kind of tornado activity that we have seen. So wrong again, AOC. You're scaring people by lying. All right, I'm raising my voice now. Let's get away from me. She might be a trigger for me. I don't know. Every time I see something with her talking about the climate, it just I can't believe she's actually elected. Who elected? Who voted for her? Please, I'd love to meet you and ask questions. I'm curious why you voted for this woman. This person does not know what she's talking about. I'm sorry. It's embarrassing that our United States government elects officials who are as ignorant and fear porn and alarmism as she is. Clueless. The list could go on all night, guys. I gotta get away from her. It's just, I gotta get away. 10 of 10 coastal Antarctic stations show zero warming over the past decade. Failed scientists need to resign. Agreed. Interesting. So I always hear about the western side of Antarctica. It's warming and it's melting so fast. We're losing so many billions tons of ice every year. The polar bears are starving. And then we go and we see the actual data. And it says, nah, baby, nah. There is no warming. and then you show people this link, right? You show people this link. And they'll go, oh, well, this is just a blog. A blog with accurate information and links to hundreds of peer-reviewed articles. Okay? Not just a couple of papers. Hundreds of papers that show what we're talking about. Guys, you go to this website, just go to the right. Right here, cooling papers, non-warming graphs. The list goes on. Climate videos, Climate Gate, the German and English version. Nice. Raw data from all over the world. And then, of course, other blog sites that post information for like-minded folks. So a great source of information here. No trick zone. And, just another way to show everybody that there is actual data out there, proof that we are cooling. And I kind of wanted to share the Antarctic situation because I always hear about how Antarctica is just, melting. It's so warm there right now and blah, blah, blah. And, here we find out 10 of 10 coastal Antarctic stations show zero warming over past decades. Here's our buddy, old Alfred. He's telling Harvard students now there's an assault on science that threatens humanity. Let's have a listen. This ought to be good. Ooh, it's
Thank you very much.
So proper.
Thank you so much, Cleanna. I really appreciate that introduction. And let me say,
so does your wallet.
To the class of 2019, I really cannot emphasize enough how grateful I am for the honor of your invitation to be here as a speaker on your class day. Thank you very much. It means a great deal to me. Dean Rukesh Khurana, Catherine Zhang, and all of the members of the in commencement in those terms. He was not only saving our union, but he was also recognizing the fact that democracies are rare in history, and they often do not last.
Okay, so anyway, if you guys want to watch that, that's here for you, all that good crap. But listen, Gord issued his warning in a speech to Harvard students and faculty Wednesday, stressing reason and rational debate. Indeed, democracy itself, we're under threat from ideology. Science is now being slandered by a conspiracy-based hoax. Oh, that's ironic. Gore said, likely referring to the 2012 Trump tweet where he called man-made global warming a Chinese hoax. Trump wasn't even president yet, guys. Think about that. He was just one of many who wasn't buying this crap. The subordination of the best scientific evidence to the cynical greed of those but stressing the power of a would-be autocrat is yet another strategy for controlling policy by distorting and suppressing the best available information. Like what they're doing right now. Controlling policy by distorting and suppressing the best information available. That's what you're doing right now, Mr. Gore. That's what you've done to our channel. And I know you've done it to our channel. And I'm proud. I guess I'm doing something right if I get messed with by you and your cronies. So the ideology of authoritarianism is not only the threat to democracy in America, now because it attacks on climate science. It has become a threat to the survival of human civilization as we know it, even potentially the capacity of human species to endure. In order to solve the climate crisis, we must solve the democracy crisis. Wow. The system of checks and balances has protected the integrity of our American system for more than 2 centuries and has already been dangerously eroded. So what he's saying is, for so long, Al Gore has gotten away with the man-made global warming. And because of people like me and you, folks, that are listening, the drumbeat's getting louder. We're debunking it. And the one thing that's eroding are the government funding projects for man-made global warming. That's what he's talking about. He's more worried about, if he's going to get his next speaker fee. Of course, he had to mention the flooding and tornado. And he put it on man-made global warming, echoing recent attempts by, AOC to do the same in Iowa. Speaking of winds, the winds are increasingly destructive in our world. No crap, Sherlock. Yesterday was the 13th day in a row where multiple tornado touched down in the United States. 500 this month. Well, thank you, Alfred, for pointing that out. Because we just talked about why we have so many tornadoes. And it has nothing to do with global warming or man or any of that. Cold air. Oh, I hope Al watches somehow. I hope somehow somebody who just one of his cronies breaks the clips up and says, listen to what this guy's saying about you. Yeah, listen, buddy. Listen to this broadcast. That's the point we're here, guys. To show you the proof against these clowns who don't know anything about the climate. Say what you want about my lack of degrees, but I understand what's happening. I'm able to draw conclusions. I'm able to connect the dots. I'm able to report about events that are related. Guess what drives the climate, folks? You got it. The sun. What? Say it with me. It's the sun. That's right. It's the sun. All right, so let's move on. Fun with Al Gore is over. Scientists tackle a burning question. When will our quiet sun turn violet? Okay, not bad. Let's skim this and see if we can find anything. So far, we're looking at a blank screen. It's fun. It's black. There's nothing going on. We are live. Thank you for being here. I can only extend this segment another few more seconds, and okay. So we're moving on. Oh, see if it shows up now. Might be just a bad link, folks. I will leave it up on the website. Hopefully it works for you guys. That would be a great question to be answered. Climate Home News, deadly Japan heat wave, essentially impossible without global warming. That's false too. We just talked about this. I just can't believe that. Yeah, I can. I'm just joking. Check it out. Once again, though, No Trick Zone. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not a lot of people know that. Another great blog site, by the way. Read many articles from this website, but they want to bring up the point, and I'm sure a lot of people are saying, well, without global warming, okay, so it's hot in Japan. Okay, it's hot in Japan. Gotcha. But Japan's not that big. It's definitely not the size of the United States. My point I'm trying to make is that there's a whole lot more cooling going on right now than there is warming. Guys, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.
All right, we're back, guys. So let's take a look at weather again. The levee breach in Arkansas, Missouri, prompt evacuations, according to the Weather Channel. This picture shows it all. Just like what we showed at the beginning. There are so many levees and dams that look like this, guys. Where's the water going to go? Taking a look at our drought monitor. Still in pretty good shape for the United States compared to where we were last year, especially California. Cool down coming to the Northeast. Oh, yeah, because it's been so balmy up here. Temperature is going to be 10 to 15 below normal. Isolated shower early next week. So at least it starts off early. Spotty storms on Saturday in the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic states as well. You'll get your share by Sunday. Ohio, Northeast Ohio, Columbus, Buffalo. Heavy rain for you guys. Showers, storms to precede a burst of unseasonably cool air in the Northeast. So when's summer going to get here? And I could have swore I saw some kind of outlook that showed that the East Coast and the Northeast was going to be well above average on temperatures. But here we go into June 2nd. And it's cool and humid in Ohio, Cleveland, Indianapolis, Michigan, Detroit, Chicago. A little humid and warm over the weekend. Showers and thunderstorms to take place here in the Northeast. Cool down earlier, much less humid. Cooler temperatures. They will go into Wednesday before we finally start to see a warm up. And here's the good news. It doesn't appear that we're going to be talking a lot about a lot of severe weather. And the reason why is because we had experienced a pattern shift that's coming up for June. So it's going to be a little bit cooler in the south. And I know we've had a lot of heat in the southeast. I'm sure you guys are thankful that that heat wave is coming to a close. Let's go ahead and take a look at our temperatures. Still nice for this time of year in the south, but a little bit more back to normal. Here we are, June 1st. And much of the country from Ohio southward, you're in the 70s and 80s in the deep south, some still 90s lingering around. And again, we do see that change coming by June 4th. The Northeast is cool once again. The 80s and 90s are pushed down to the far south, way south, near the Gulf. And by the way, the Gulf is nice and warm right now. And especially when we get into June, as we look at our temperature outlook, again, about average, 60s and 70s. The GFS is recommending that we're going to see some 80-degree temperatures in the Northeast. We will see about that. The 90s still hanging around the East Coast as well. And we got to get ready for some serious heat in Texas. Now, what I made a claim before this season started was I told Mari, I bet we have a very hot summer in parts of the United States. Very hot. But the good news is it's going to be short-lived because I think we're going to get colder quicker this year than we did last year. And right now, that cool down is coming for the Northeast and the Northwest, but the South is going to hang on to that heat. But look at the temperatures on June 11th. High temperatures are 60 degrees in the capital region of New York, 56 in Syracuse, 62 in Buffalo, 63 near Pittsburgh. June 12th, 60s and 50s throughout the entire Northeast. Some heat starting to creep up in the East Coast. But again, look at the daytime highs on June 12th. Ohio, 71 degrees in Cincinnati. Don't tell me that's normal. 69 degrees in Cincinnati on June 13th. Lexington, Kentucky in the mid-70s. Louisville, mid-70s. Nashville, maybe you'll reach the 80s. Maybe. June 13th, guys. Oh, finally, June 14th. Start to get a little bit warmer, especially in the Northeast. 77. There we go. Here comes some summertime heat. Okay. We'll see. The Northwest, on the other hand, daytime highs, 48 degrees. Nice and balmy. Parts in Nevada, 49 degrees. Parts in Northern California in the low 50s for highs. Eesh. Mid-June. Global warming, huh? Guys, if I sound ornery tonight, it's because this information continues to blow my mind on a daily basis. The stuff that we see on a daily... Yeah, we got one to watch here too, by the way. So let's take a look at our future cast on GFS. Again, it's not going to be exact, but the GFS has done a pretty decent job, I feel, on picking up on moisture patterns and everything. So we were concerned about the 1st through the 7th of June. And with the pattern change, we still see that chance of that line of storms that are going to develop every day, almost on the 24-hour mark. Every 24 hours, it's like the atmosphere will load up. And we were talking about this the other day on the 1st through the 7th. Let's see if that pattern's still there. Yes, it is. Here we are on the 4th. Here we are on the 5th. Here we are on the 6th. Here we are on the 7th. And finally the 8th. And now we start to see some kind of normality happen again to our weather patterns as we start to see these fronts starting to move off to the east as if the Southwest is trying to calm down a little bit. So now Ohio and Kentucky and Tennessee, you're going to have a low pressure system that's going to kind of stall out over that region. And we're talking about some pretty good rains here for that area. Now, mind you, we were just talking about Ohio, already late and behind on crops to be planted. Most of us need to have soybean in the ground by the June 8th because at this point, if you don't have corn in the ground, you're done. That's not being a fear report ours, that's telling the truth. Most areas by June 8th, if you do not have corn in the ground, you're done. Soy. And, well, corn. You switch it over to soy by June 8th. So those corn farmers are going to be soybean farmers by June 8th, is what I'm trying to say.
They might not have a farm at all.
Or they might not have a farm. We're looking at the GFS rain here for the 7th. This low pressure system that finally kind of moves away on the 5th of June. This is a long, slow rain that's going across the Central Plains. Look at that. Flow of moisture just coming in from the northwest and just stalling out at different times, moving a little bit at a time. It takes several days for it to make its way over Ohio. and it hangs out for several days, and more rain and flooding coming in Oklahoma and Nebraska, and some probably well-deserved rain coming into the south by the 10th of June. Even though we got a pattern change of temperatures, the moisture is still there. Now, the hotter temperatures will probably help with bringing down the tornado activity, but as far as the rain and floods go, I don't look like it's changing anytime soon, folks. Let's focus our attention right now to the Gulf region here, Florida. Guys, Miami. I said something about this about a week ago. We need to watch southern Florida. Miami could be in some kind of an event that could be a very long rain event at this point. Starting around June 10th, we got to keep our eyes on the Gulf as the system will make its way to Florida. And by the 14th of June, the low pressure system behind it will have its act together. Now look at Miami, most of Florida and the southern part. Heavy rain expected on the 14th. GFS is saying we're going to see something kind of big deal here. But thanks to the high pressure that's kind of camped out right here over Ohio, this might pull this up the coast. This high pressure system could pull that system up the coast. Let's see what happens here, guys, as we put this in motion. And that's exactly what's happening. So, this is bad to keep this high pressure here in Ohio on the 13th. So we can only hope that our pressure maps change, because if they stay the same right now, that high pressure system that's over Ohio is going to pretty much pull this potential hurricane. It's going to pull it up the East Coast at this current position right now, that high pressure system. So the one thing we need to watch for in mid-month is where that high pressure system is camping out at. We need to hope that that thing is already in the Atlantic. That's the only kind of hope we have right now to avoid what could be a pretty dangerous hurricane situation that's going to pretty much inundate the entire state of Florida. Orlando, Miami, Jacksonville will probably get some pretty heavy rains, but not only that, probably some surge, lots of wind. So we have our first major hurricane possible in the mid-month of June. Earlier models on GFS was suggesting something around the 7th and 8th of June, and now they've kind of pushed that out another week. And this is why I usually don't like going this far out, because it's so unreliable. I mean, we're not even at June 1st yet, and we're looking at the 16th. But as of right now, the GFS forecast model favors a high pressure system that kind of parks its way in the Midwest by the 11th of June and just hangs out for a little bit. And it's that high pressure that's going to bring and pull that storm up the East Coast. So something to definitely watch as we move into the future here over the next several days. El Nino, more like Al Nono. Actually, I take that back. Here we go. It's actually got its act together and it's back to El Nino conditions. But when you look at this map, you wouldn't think that. You know, technically, you usually have a lot of 28s all across right here. And, you know, so we're slightly El Nino right now. We're not even considered moderate or anything like that. It's just barely above the threshold. And looking at this graph, we'll probably start seeing the temperatures plunge once again, possibly dipping well below the El Nino events. I don't think this will be a prolonged El Nino like some have predicted, honestly. I just don't see it. I've been saying it all year long. When NOAA said 90%, I said no way. Then they had said 70. I still said no way. Let's check out the crop report real quick. I forgot Mari had put that together over here for me. As you can see, lots of flooding still. Lots of saturation. I want to see the map that shows suitable days in the field. Because what's important to me, golly, look at the difference in the temperatures though, soil temperatures. You know, what's different for me though is when we report the information from the crop reports and the maps, and you get the comments below in the chat And on the comment section of these videos when they're done, and I don't think I'm going to get that chart. Oh, here it is, my favorite. They always like to mess with you here. Oh, there we go. Just find it funny that there's actually a button that returns this around. All right, so the parts that we just talked about, 2.7 workable days in the fields. Now, this is May 26th. Here's that number, May 26, 2019. All right. And Ohio is at 11%. .7 days of field work. And they've only got 11% planted. Indiana, 1.8 days of field work. That ought to help you catch up, down 14% in the fields from last year's 89%. South Dakota, oh, this should help. You get 1.1 day of suitable field work because you only have 6% in the ground right now compared to last year's 56%. I hope you guys understand how serious this is. And I'm not trying to be like your dad and yell at you and scold you for not. I think there's a lot of things in our news around the world that people get caught up. I think it's finally safe to say that we really need to stop bickering and fighting with each other about politics and everything else that goes along with politics. Because those politicians don't give a damn about me and you. If they did, they'd have those pumps in the Delta. If they gave a damn about us, they wouldn't be taxing us for carbon. If they gave a damn about us, they wouldn't let people like AOC talk about Green New Deals, getting rid of carbon or getting rid of engines and telling people that we're causing this climate change. They don't care about us. We have to start caring for ourselves. The time for talkie is over. We got to take some action. When you look at the charts and you look at this stuff right here with the crop situation here in the United States, these numbers are atrocious. And all I got to say is with these tariffs and everything that we're going through right now, don't blame it on Trump raising tariffs. It's these tariffs are going up because they know there's going to be a price increase here soon. The world knows it. The last effort of the money grab, what I call it. Mari, did you want to add anything to tonight's broadcast? I know I kind of went on a little longer than expected, but with all the flooding and all the crop loss that we're looking at right now, and looking at the center of the country, I don't see where in the hell we're going to plant anything. In Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Kansas, Indiana, and unfortunately Ohio right now are the worst of it.
Hey, Jake.
What's going on?
Well, very active in the chat. I don't even know where to start. People definitely, it's like, I think people are sick of AOC entirely. And then to hit them with Al Gore back to back, that's all my fault.
It set everybody
I chose these articles.
We just dropped a nuclear bomb.
Sorry. But I posed the question in the chat. Who's more obnoxious?
Can we?
It's so hard.
We should actually root for these two to get married.
No. Well, then we have a big thing going about soy. Like, wow. I'm not a big soy fan. I know you're not either. You can imagine. So, so far, I believe it's a tie between that, but Al Gore sort of gets extra brownie points for being around so long. For so many long, obnoxious, annoying years with his really awful wife, Tipper Gore. Anyway, Doug wants me to make a new t-shirt that's emoji-based that's confused. So I told him I'm going to work on that, and I posted the link to our Teespring shop in the chat, and we have the promo code for 20% off of everything in there, which is cool. People are talking about the crops and the farming, and I just posted a comment in the chat. If there are farmers watching this, please know that we need you not to give up. too many of our nation's farmers are just calling quits. And we get it's hard, but please just try your best to hang on. Even if you have to move and find another farm, don't discontinue farming. Our people need you. And if you're not a farmer, please support your local farms.
Well, and I want to stop you right there. Amari, and it really comes down to this: is the government going to be here for these farmers to help them get back at it? Because I'm sure a lot of these farmers would do it for the rest of their lives, but now it's come down to a financial situation where our government doesn't really do a lot for farmers we've never seen this kind of damage.
Well, we have what is that spillway that it's going to be opening again? It's the Morganza floodway. That is there's a lot of farmers that are going to be affected by that when that opens. I read an article of one farmer, his farm is actually stable right now. It's okay, which is sort of a unique situation for him with the surrounding area being so saturated. He has sunk in over $300,000 in just getting his farm going this season. And if they open that spillway, it's everything's lost. And his flood insurance won't cover man-made disasters. And it would be considered a man-made disaster because they have to open the floodway up, and he's in negotiation with, I don't remember, what did I say? He wound up making a deal where the insurance policy would wind up covering it with the government, agricultural liability, whatever. I'm not well versed on the actual insurances these farms deal with, but that's just one small, big issue.
Hey, I want to shout out to Brad. He just mentioned in the chat that it might be time for another farm aid. And that couldn't be more truer than now. It might be a good idea that we get some kind of event, Ray. We need to get that going right now because these farmers are struggling. I think you're right, Brad. It's very urgent, and that would be a great idea to have like a farm aid part 2 or something, because these folks, I mean, I know Willie Nelson does a lot with that particular festival, but definitely stuff like that really needs to happen in more frequency because these farmers need more help than ever before.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much great conversation going on with people's opinions and everything. So I just want to say hello to all of you. These live shows are a blast, getting to know all of you, what you're about, where you're from, what you're experiencing, everything, sharing. And everyone's pretty much been respectful, cordial, and it's unusual with a social media platform not to have people being disrespectful and all that. So I want to thank all of you for being wonderful in the chat and making it easy for me as a mod to moderate.
Sam, I got to agree with you, buddy. We don't want aid. We want fair markets and less political BS. You're right. I mean, the farm aid's great. It does what it does. But you're right. Let's cut this bullcrap, the bureaucracy of this, and get the real help to farmers that they need, and stop sending bills to Congress and Senate that only get delayed and revoted because they have to be revised and everything. You're right, Sam. Absolutely. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. Mari, is that all you had, or?
Yeah, the more we cover this information as in depth as we do, the more it seems that the algorithms and different analytics we get caught in this web where people are not seeing the information. It's very concerning to me that our views are down so low with the quality information that we're putting out. So we need your help. Please share our videos. That's all it takes is a like, a share, leave a comment. Your interaction means more to us than you even realize. So thank you for those that are already like tweeting and Facebooking and gabbing and minding and whatever you do. Thank you. It's very much appreciated.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in once again. This has been the Grand Solar Minimum's weekly update as far as crop loss as well, but also on the Grand Solar Minimum news, guys, stay tuned to the channel. We'll definitely be back live on Monday. If anything breaks across the weekend, of course, we will break through and report on that as well. But expect us to be live again on Monday evening, unless, like I said, we have news to report that needs to be reported immediately. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Take care. Have a good night and have a great weekend. We'll talk soon.